Welcome back again, everybody, to my podcast. This is Ray Woods' podcast, Crab Out the Bucket on Spotify, learning from past mistakes. And on this podcast, I educate those from my past mistakes through financial education, mindset, and business and career growth. If you're new to this podcast, go ahead, subscribe to it, like, comment, and share with your friends and colleagues. And also head over to my YouTube channel and Crab Out the Bucket, and you can subscribe there as well for any new content that I have coming out. In today's topic, I want to discuss the things that we should have learned in our 20s. I'm 30. I officially passed a new decade of life, and I'm sad, but I'm doing good. I'm fine. 30 is the new 20, so they should say just like 60, 50, and 70 is the new 20, whatever everybody else says. But there's a lot of things that I wish I would have known in my 20s that I want to share with you guys and you ladies that I actually know now. So I believe a lot of us can agree that classes that we took in high school or college have not been beneficial to us in real life. You know, I took Calculus 3 for engineering class, and I said this in a previous podcast as well. We learned about things like mitochondria and photosynthesis. We understand the atomic number of random elements, but unless you're specifically a scientist in those fields, or if you're the type of person that's inventing something, then those things are pointless. They don't help you in real life. And some of the things that we should have started learning about, one main thing I should say is about money, or I should say currency, cash. You know, nobody knows about you don't learn this stuff in the school system about investing. You don't learn things about credit. And I got into details about these in the previous podcast when I discussed the things that we should have been taught in school in episode 12. And this is episode 13. And, you know, you don't learn about the credit. You don't learn about budgeting. Some people don't even know how to open up a bank account, whether it be public or a credit union. Now, when it comes to a public or credit union that you should open up a bank account with, I would say go with a credit union. And the reason I say this is because I have done some studying and some research on this, saying that it is better benefits to be with a credit union because you're like a member to that bank instead of just another number to a public or big bank like Bank of America or Chase Bank or something like that. Now, that's not to say you can't open an account with public, but you do get more benefits when it comes to banking with a credit union. Now, another validation for this, because don't just take my word for it, of course you want to go research on your own, is one of my mentors. He served in the military. He is a strategic planner for the CDC, so that's really high up there. He's a strategic planner for human resources. He also has a black card, and that's really all I got to say about that. So anybody that has a black card, and if you know what a black card is, you know it's a big chunk of metal that you're only invited to get. You can't apply for it. So when you have somebody that's giving you information about that, saying, hey, you need to go with a credit union, that's definitely some information you listen to, especially if you're one of those people that want a black card. Now, you know, the other thing we don't learn within the money realm is real estate. You know, whether it be investing into real estate, buying land, or just buying a home. A lot of people want to buy a home because they want to put their family in a place where they can stay, they can go to school, they don't have to move around so much. That's great and all, but do you know the process of buying a home? Do you know the steps that it takes to buying a home? The only people that really know those steps are the agents that are selling the home or the realtors that are selling the home. So educate yourself on that, because I tell you, the schools are not going to educate on buying real estate or investing in real estate, or, you know, buying real estate as a home for your family. You know, that we still live in this world today where people say buying a home for yourself is an asset, and it's not. It's a liability. You know, Robert Kiyosaki talks about this all the time, how people confuse an asset and a liability. And if you think about it, buying a home is a liability. Every time the second you go move into the house and it doesn't put money into your pocket, it's going to be a liability. And some people are going to say, well, Ray, you know, you can sell it and then you got equity in your home and then the market goes up, but that's making a profit. It's not putting money in your pocket every single month. It's taking money out of your pocket every single month. Now, if we go to researching the market, looking for the future, researching the market, looking into the future for where we're headed. And that's another thing that I wish I would have learned in my 20s, is that I didn't know to even social media was around. Like, this was the time when I was into MySpace. This was years ago. But it wasn't to the point where I understood, hey, I can look for certain things. I was still looking in the encyclopedia and going to the library for certain things, but not understanding that I needed to research the market and look into the future with data and statistics and seeing where we headed to now. And as you can see in this year of 2020, technology is a big thing. One of the major, very, very high demands is cybersecurity. And even the multi-billionaire Dan Penna, he talks about this. He said one of the major demands right now is cybersecurity. Everything is technology. We need people that is going to be able to stop and fight these cyber attacks, whether it be from other countries or people within our own country that's going after financial systems, that's going after personal information, whatever it may be. My wife is actually going into cybersecurity. She has a master's degree in languages, but she's going to do a transfer into cybersecurity by getting certifications. And the other thing is being an expert in your trade. I was never really told I need to be an expert in a trade. I just knew I needed to get a degree or get some type of degree, whether it be a community college or a university, and work a job, but not necessarily knowing how I need to be an expert at that trade. What I need to be doing. Do I need to add certifications to my background? Do I need to get into certain jobs or certain companies? Who do I need to connect with so I can become that subject matter expert in that trade or in that field that I'm doing? And then looking for apprenticeships, co-ops, or internships. I've had internships. I didn't necessarily do co-ops because it would have been a whole nother semester before I graduated. And I didn't really know about apprenticeships till later down the road, where you can actually, be with somebody and mimic them a lot closer than you would in an internship or a co-op. In my experience, internships have just been somebody going into a company, working for 3 to 4 months. You get paid and they got you doing a bunch of side work or work that they necessarily don't have time to do. So you're kind of like, I guess you could say, the dog fetching a bone, and maybe that's a little negative. You're still getting the experience, but you're also not getting the full-fledged experience that you need within that company to really dictate how you're going to determine what your career is going to be. Now, I can't say that for every company. Some companies that I've internship was like that, and then some companies that I know individuals that have worked there, they have definitely gotten good education, good learning experience, and it has definitely pushed them up the career ladder. And that's a variable depending on what company you work for. Another thing I would have wished I knew in my 20s was some type of military training. And at one point I started to get into ROTC. I was younger. It was about 7th or 8th grade. I wanted to play football, but I actually wanted to join a band. I was in 6th grade. I wanted to play the drums. They wouldn't allow you then. 7th and 8th grade, I jumped into football. And then eventually I started 10th and 12th grade and I ran track there. And then I played football at community college for about half a year before I got injured. And the thing I wish I would have learned and probably would have jumped in instead was ROTC, because it's going to teach you that leadership. It's going to teach you discipline. It's going to keep you disciplined throughout your life. It's going to teach you about communication, how you work together, how you create that teamwork. It'll teach you about that teamwork. It'll teach you about those 4 main things is what I wish I would have learned in my 20s, and what I believe a lot of individuals nowadays, especially the Generation Z, because a lot of people get us millennials confused with Generation Z, is that I believe a lot of Generation Z need to learn leadership. They need to learn discipline, communication, teamwork, because these skill sets are something that just they have to be acquired through life. They have to be acquired through life with some type of guidance. And when you got these different officers or these different individuals in the military or that's in ROTC that's teaching you and educating you on this and how to be a leader and how to discipline and how to communicate, how to work together with others and teamwork, then things are going to be a lot smoother for you in your future. You're going to be able to create networks with people that you never would have thought that you would have created this with, because of the type of skill sets that you retained when you was younger in your 20s. You got ahead of everybody. And even nowadays, even some of the Generation Z have developed this in their 20s. And I see this throughout the internet and throughout real life how people are really developing some of these skills at even an early age, earlier than 20. So for those who don't have those skill sets or want to improve on those skill sets, you can do that now without necessarily being on ROTC, but just reading up on it, learning that, studying different people who have this. One of the guys I follow, Patrick Beck David, on his YouTube channel, Valuetainment, he was in the military. He has tons of discipline. He definitely, I see him as a definite leader, and this is one of the guys that people can learn from if they choose to watch that person, and many others out there. Another thing that we should learn in our 20s, and definitely I wish I would have learned, was networking. I was one of those people that did not want to talk to anybody. I would go to my class, I would go to work, and the only people that I socialized with was the people that was in my circle. And some of the people in my circle wasn't about getting anything further in their life. They didn't care. They didn't care about anything. They wanted to kind of stay complacent. So networking with the right people is definitely a must that should be learned in your 20s. And I wish I would have learned that. I would have networked with a lot more people and not just stayed away from everybody. Honestly, I didn't like people. I didn't like people because it was always somebody that was trying to play me, that was always trying to get over on me. And I had moments where I played the victim card, and it did not benefit me the way it should in my 20s. And so it took me a little more time to get to where I needed to be. Now I'm in a position where I can network and I can talk to almost anybody that I would like to talk to. The next thing will be sales and negotiation. People say, "Oh man, I don't want to be selling nobody. I'm not into sales." But you're selling yourself all the time, whether it be in a job interview or whether it be going to talk to a female and try to get her number or take her out on a dinner. You're selling yourself. You're negotiating with people. These are the skill sets that should be taught in these schools, or at least taught when you're in the 20s. And if it's taught earlier, then that's definitely great. I know my mentors, they're entrepreneurs and they own a construction company. And we ended up staying with them for some time. And what happened was I observed how they teach and educate their kids in the household. And it's amazing to see that, because they learn at an early age and that sticks with them, and it creates that discipline for them so they can understand business and understand life a lot sooner than if they started learning it later in their 20s or even 30 or 40s. So learning this around 5 years old, 10 years old, in your early teenage years is definitely great. Sales and negotiation. Sales is the number one thing that's going to get you paid. I don't care what nobody says. If you can't sell, you can't make money. If you cannot sell, you will always be hungry. And that's either selling a product as an entrepreneur or a hustler to make some money, to feed, put some food on your table, or selling yourself to get a job. You need to be able to sell. You need to be able to negotiate. It has always been around, even back when humans was using a barter system and trading goats for loaves of bread. They was selling each other and they was negotiating on what they can do to trade. I believe the number one thing that we definitely should learn in our 20s is personal development and mental health. And these things are so critical. Above learning about money, above learning about researching what you need to look into the market, and above any type of military related training or interpersonal skills like leadership and discipline, these are very, very critical to the human life. Personal development is what gets you out of a box. This is why I make this podcast and my YouTube channel, Crab Out the Bucket, because the meaning of Crab Out the Bucket is somebody that seems like that they don't fit in. You feel like that you don't belong. You feel like something's not right. And you got all these people around you and they manipulate you and they say these different things, and you either fall victim to it or you be the one to get out of that. In order to get out of that, you got to have a strong sense of self, which comes from improving your personal development, getting some self-help, having strong mental health. When people talk about you, don't worry about what they're saying. But see, you got people nowadays, and I'll use an example. These guns. People get a hold of these guns and they go shoot up places. They go shoot up schools. They go shoot up parties. They go shoot up all this stuff. But nobody ever talks about what those kids been through. Because these are kids that are shooting up things and getting a hold of ARs and all these different weaponry. And then the first thing people are going to say is we need to ban weapons. Well, I'll tell you this. Somebody that is not in good mental health do not need a gun to kill a bunch of people. They can use a knife. They can use a bat. They can use anything to kill somebody. You're going to see, if they ban guns, you'll see gun murders go down dramatically, all the way down to zero. But then what else you'll see? Knife murders go up. Baseball bat murders go up. Any of those things, because those people are not good in mental health. Those people that are out here shooting up the place, we need to figure out what is going on in their household. Did they mom and they dad fight? Did they have, siblings that was bullying them all the time? Or are they bullied throughout school? Like they probably have that nowadays in the schools. I can't speak on that 100% because I'm not in high school, but I will say that I have seen throughout the internet and on TV that people are implementing these things where they are looking out for these kids' mental health. And one thing I don't agree with is, putting people in these little safe space. People do need to have some tough skin, but at the same time, you want to understand what it is you need to do to make sure that a kid's mental health is good. Because if they grow up and their mental health is off, then things could happen that is very catastrophic to society. People don't like to talk about stuff. And this is even within households. People don't like to talk about things like money. They don't like to talk about things about relationship. They feel like that something hurts them, or they don't like it for 2 seconds, and then they're done. They're cutting it off. They're shutting it off. They don't want to talk about it. They delete it. You completely avoid the situation instead of fixing the problem. And that's where that personal development come in at, and when that mental toughness come in at. Talk about the stuff. Express yourself more. Express yourself. And when you're expressing yourself, of course, things are your opinion and from your experience. But at the same time, you don't want to be bashing other people, or at least try to be completely unbiased with the situation where you're applying some type of logic to where it can make sense on both sides of the playing field. Because at that point, now you're judging other people. And then that goes to the next thing. No judgment. Don't worry about people judging you. People judging you, people are going to judge you all the time. It's a good thing. People talk about me all the time, whether it be, you don't know what you're talking about, you sound stupid, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, well, I appreciate you taking the time to even listen to what I'm saying so you can have your own opinion. But it doesn't bother me. I mean, what you going to do? Come fight me or something? No, you're on the other side of a computer. The social media today is making people so weak that it's sad. It's very sad. This bullying, these shootings, cyberbullying, all this stuff comes from a wealth of things that's going on in this generation today. And I don't mean that as far as Generation Z or millennials, but in this year of 2020, in this era. And there's so many things that can be done to prevent a lot of this. Work on your personal development. Work on your mental health. Go read some self-help books. See what you could do. Go get into things like martial arts. Go get into things like Tai Chi. Meditate. So many different things you can do to work on yourself, to work on your mind, your body, and your spirit. I come from a background that was extremely negative. I came from a background where I was fighting all the time. I fought everybody. I've probably been in over 100 fights in my lifetime. Not even lying. And that's probably an understatement. And it was either fights with people that was at my school that was racist, or it was fights with my cousins, or it was fight with random people that just wanted to fight because we got into an argument over something stupid. So these are the things that I wish I would have learned in my 20s that definitely would have pushed me ahead and have a bigger advantage when it comes to just living life in general. As I wind down the podcast, I hope you guys enjoyed the podcast. I hope I brought some value to you on these things that we definitely should have learned in our 20s. If you definitely think that there's something else, go ahead and leave me a comment below. Like and share this podcast, Crab Out the Bucket, learning from past mistakes, with your friends, with your colleagues. And also, don't forget to head over to my YouTube channel, Crab Out the Bucket, where I also have valuable content coming out on my YouTube channel there. And until my next podcast or my next video, I will speak with you all later.